Well, hello and welcome to the video version of Changing Habits Now. I am Dr. Megan Mello. I host the podcast Ending Physician Overwhelm, and this is the video version of the episode where I'm going to be able to show you the tools as we work through them. So please get yourself some paper. I am using small sticky notes. You can use index cards. If you just have paper and pen, that is perfect and perfectly enough. So today we are going to be using tools from BJ Fogg's book, Tiny Habits, The Small Changes That Change Everything. If you listen to the podcast regularly, you know that one of the things I talk about is habits and behaviors. And this month, we're really focusing on the theme of habits so that we can understand how better to change habits that we are interested in changing. And that might be building new habits that, that we want to have, or undoing bad habits that we're trying to get rid of. I think so often what I see physicians struggling with in particular is that we can be really accountable when we're highly responsible people. We can be really accountable when someone else is expecting us to do something. But when we're trying to make changes for ourselves, that's often where we struggle. We struggle to be accountable to ourselves. It's like it's just a bit too much for us. And so incorporating some of these tools, which come from the study of behavior design, can be something that can really be helpful for us. So I invite you to work alongside with me. So let's go ahead and get started. So step one is to clarify the aspirations. And so go ahead and get yourself, a piece of paper. And I want you to simply write down, get a little notebook like this. I want you to simply write down something that you want for yourself. And I don't mean an item that you want for yourself, but I mean more an aspiration, an outcome, a goal, a result that you want for yourself. It might be something like you want to lose weight. It might be something like you want to sleep better, or you want to start exercising, or something like that. I don't want you to overthink it. I just want you to go ahead and list for yourself several things that you are interested in changing. And then I want you, for the sake of the work that we're doing here today, go ahead and pick one. And it doesn't matter what it is. It can be very simple to start. It doesn't have to be the hardest thing on your list. Just pick one. And once you have decided what you're going to work on, then the next step is to really clarify it further. So for example, if you wrote down lose weight, think about what really underlies that aspiration. So he gives the example that, we might write down lose weight to start, but really we want something else. We want to be able to run a 5K. We want to be able to fit into our favorite jeans comfortably. We might want to be controlling our diabetes better. We want something that's a little bit even more specific than the original thing that we wrote down. So work on that thing that you picked up and see how far down you can get it in terms of really making sure that the aspiration is something, that you want, and it really is kind of in its purest form, if you want to think about it that way. And then we're going to move on to step two. So step two is exploring behavior options. And this is where we get a little bit artsy. So what I'm going to have you do is get a clean piece of paper, and you're going to draw a line kind of in the middle. And then I want you to draw a cloud around it. You can see my cloud looks a little weird because my fun silver, Sharpie pen was not so easy to see on the camera, so I had to redo it. But you'll forgive me because we're really working on anti-perfectionism here, and me too. So once you have drawn this, depending on what tools you have. So if you simply have pen and paper, no worries. What I would like you to do is to start drawing some lines around your cloud. And I want you to label the line A, B, C, D, and just keep going. I want you to have at least 10, okay? At least 10 things that you're going to write down. If you've got index cards or little sticky notes, then, write one on a sticky note and just put it around the cloud. And they don't have to be in any particular order. Just want you to keep brainstorming. This is not the phase where we are editing or judging, what we've written down. I just want you to come up with a whole bunch of different ideas. And the ideas are specific behaviors that you could do that move you towards this aspiration. So they might be, again, if we're sort of thinking about examples here, right? If we are trying to, feel better in our genes, right? We might want to be drinking more water. We might want to, be committing to extra, like whatever those things are. If we, originally wrote down, we want to sleep better, we probably need to drill that down into, we really want to feel rested, right? So what are those things that I could be doing that help me get to this aspiration of feeling rested? It might be that I need to go to bed an hour earlier, right? It might be that I need to put my phone on silent mode, starting at 8 p.m. It might be that I need to stop listening to the news on the way home, things that are going to help me be able to make a change here, okay? And again, no editing, no judging. It doesn't matter if you tried that thing before or not. That's not what we're doing here. We're just trying to get as many ideas as possible. And again, at least 10. So push yourself on that. And when you are done with that, go ahead and pause if you need more time. Then we're going to move on to step 3, which is called match with specific behaviors. And so on a new sheet, I'd like you to draw a box, and you can draw a complete square. I didn't draw a complete square around here. It's okay, right? But basically you want to be drawing a grid so that you've got 4 quadrants of the grid. And I'm going to move this a little bit. At the top here, you are going to write high impact. At the bottom here, low impact. On what is, if I'm facing it, the right-hand side here, you're going to write yes on the y-axis, and on the far left, you're going to write nope or nope. And let's talk a little bit about what that means. Oh, get my camera. Oh, here. Camera options here. All right, the tech is what it is, guys. All right, so when we are thinking about what behaviors are going to work for us, we are going to be sort of grading it according to the grid. So the first question to ask ourselves, grab one of your sticky notes, right? Or if you wrote yourself letters, then you're just going to put letters on here, right? But if I've got sticky notes, the first question I'm going to ask for the thing that's written down on my sticky note, is that something that is going to have a high impact on me reaching that aspiration? Or is it something that's going to have a low impact, right? So perhaps my goal is, my aspiration that I wrote down is to fit into my jeans more comfortably. Then I want to decide for this thing that I've written down, this one's blank, but you know what I mean. For this thing that I've written down, I'm going to pull it off that other sheet, and I'm going to decide if that thing has a potential for high impact on the behavior, or sorry, on meeting the aspiration, or it's a behavior that has a low impact, right? So we're first going to decide where it goes along this y-axis. Okay. And then once we've decided that, we're going to have to decide and really think about this for ourselves. Is this something that is easy for me to do? It's easy for me to get myself to do this behavior, in which case it's going to go along the x-axis towards the yes. Or is it something that is going to feel hard to do, something that I cannot make myself to do? So let me give you an example. Perhaps one thing that I wrote down, in sort of getting me towards my goal of fitting into my jeans better, maybe I wrote down eat kale. Now, people tell me that kale is really healthy, and I know that if I eat more greens and more vegetables and more fiber, that is going to help me, with my goal of being able to fit into my clothes better, right? Let's just say that that's true. So I might decide that it has a high impact on, on my y-axis. But maybe I hate kale. Maybe I really, truly, truly hate it. Maybe I have tried it a bunch of different ways. I've had other people cook it. I've cooked it myself. I've tried it raw. Maybe, I've tried it all the different ways. I've done all the different things, and I still hate kale. I don't actually, but let's just say that I do. I might decide that that is a high impact, but it's not something that I can force myself to do, because most of us don't find it easy to force ourselves to eat foods that we do not like, right? It's going to go here. This step is something that we are generally not used to. We are not used to having to decide whether behaviors are easy for us to get ourselves to do or hard for us to get ourselves to do. And because we are hardworking, highly responsible people, especially, who have been trained to serve other people and, to kind of meet these, really high expectations in the work that we do, we can be really good at forcing ourselves to do things that, that we don't want to do, to study for long hours, to, stay awake for really long hours, to not go to the bathroom, like all kinds of things. We can do that, especially when it affects other people. We often, as humans, not as physicians, really struggle though when the behavior benefits us and it's hard for us to get ourselves to do. And that is really where the magic is in terms of using the principles of behavior design, again, which are a little bit foreign to us in medicine, in order to create steps for ourselves that are going to be something that have a high impact on helping us to meet our aspirations, and something that is easy for us to do. So let's say that I've gone through and I've graded, I've got some things here, I've got some things here, I've got all my sticky notes. Okay, let's say I've got something like this, right? So I've got something in all my quadrants, and you can see that we have sort of systematically gone through and we put all these things in here. Now, what BJ Fogg invites us to do is to look at this right upper quadrant. So when it comes to, moving us closer to the aspiration, right, to the thing that we want for ourselves, we want to choose behaviors that have a high impact, right? We don't want to waste our time doing things that aren't really going to help us. And we want to start with things that are easy for us to get ourselves to do, right? This is not what we normally choose. And I want to give you permission, even if that feels difficult, to start to focus on these behaviors that are up here, because focusing on committing to behaviors that are high impact and easy for you to get yourselves to do is what creates new habits for you. And again, that is sort of counter to everything that we have done in medicine, because we have trained ourselves to work really hard and, to show up for others and to meet others' expectations. And we can do all of that. But so many of us struggle to be able to have things that we can do for ourselves, to make changes for ourselves in our habits. And this is where we need to focus. So, something, let's do an example here. Again, I shared this in the podcast. BJ Fogg wanted to, work on improving his oral hygiene, right? He ultimately wanted to floss. So what did he do? So he could have had the option that I'm going to floss every day, right? And he probably had the experience where when he's tried to floss all his teeth every day, he doesn't do it because it's really hard for him to get himself to do it. But what he wrote down instead is he created a tiny habit of floss one tooth. And that ended up in his high impact behaviors, in this right upper quadrant where things are easy for him to get himself to do it. and it has an impact. And flossing one tooth might be kind of here-ish. So maybe it's easy for him to get himself to do it. And it doesn't, flossing one tooth doesn't have a huge impact, right? It's not up here. It doesn't have a huge impact on meeting his goals. But as he gets into the habit of flossing one tooth consistently, right, then some of the time he's going to decide to floss two teeth or to floss, all the uppers or maybe all the lowers or something. And on a bad day, if he simply shows up and he flosses one tooth because he's committed to that, he's going to have more success. So I think we bristle against this because many of us have decided that easy is not impactful. But you can see that there's this whole section here where we've got behaviors that are high impact and it's easy for us to get ourselves to do. And I want you to give yourself permission to focus on the behaviors that are up here. It's okay if that feels like cheating. It's okay if you have previously thought that things that were easy to get yourself to do were not worth doing. I want you to challenge yourself to spend time working on your aspiration from this quadrant, working on small behaviors that you can do consistently in order to move the needle and get you closer to your aspiration. So you can come back to this practice as many times as you want and use the tool here in order to be able to get more of what you want. I want you to understand that it can feel comfortable to be focusing on things that are easy and focusing on things that are small. If you've read Tiny Habits or Atomic Habits or any number of these other habit change books, they're often talking about small, consistent changes. If we make just tiny changes, if we do a 1% course correction, then over the course of a year, that really results in a dramatic change. It's, if we do 1% improvement per day, it's like we end up with a 37% improvement over the course of a year. So don't discount, the impact of making small changes towards meeting your aspiration, especially when we are identifying things that are easy for us to do, because we're more consistently going to show up for ourselves and actually do them and actually work towards our aspiration, right? So if you are here, if you have bothered to watch this, I'm going to guess that you're somebody like me who has struggled with your habits in the past. This is a new way to do it, and I invite you to take part in it. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. All right. That's what I have for you today. You can listen to the podcast episode as well. And, you can hear, slightly, a few more examples with that. But I wanted to really be able to show you the tools, especially because some of us are visual learners. So I hope this is helpful. Please feel free to pass it on. Have a great rest of your day. And please keep listening to Ending Physician Overwhelm. All right. Take care.